Farmers, as you would know, are pleading with the Reserve Bank to cut the official cash rate later today to help the struggling dairy sector. The OCR was cut 4 times last year, falling from 3.5% to almost record lows, 2.5% currently. So should it be slashed again? New Zealand Initiative Executive Director Oliver Hartwich joins me now. Oliver, good morning to you.
Morning, Paul.
Well, there's nothing as reliable as a group of economists, and 17 out of 21 economists polled by Reuters believe that the Reserve Bank governor will hold rather than drop. Do you agree with them?
Well, Paul, when have economists ever been wrong? I mean, an 81% majority, you can't really beat that when it comes to economist polls. But seriously, I think my colleagues are probably right, because there are not enough good reasons to cut interest rates at the moment, because the economy is still growing. We're expecting growth around 2.6% this year, so it doesn't really seem to be a crisis out there. We have relatively good employment figures, and certainly we don't want to add more fuel to the Auckland housing market. So I think the Reserve Bank is probably right, keeping the interest rate where it is.
The other thing, of course, is we do need to keep our powder dry. We need to have some tools left in the toolbox for the Reserve Bank governor, because there are some very gloomy figures in the world economy, aren't there?
That's exactly right. Because if you're looking around the world, you can see that the Eurozone, it's in crisis. It's in a chronic crisis now, but this chronic crisis could become acute any moment again. We are seeing some worrying developments in Japan, of course, where Abenomics is not working, where Japan a couple of weeks ago for the first time actually sold a 10-year bond at negative interest rates. So there are some downside risks in the world economy. Now, when they materialize and when we eventually get another global financial crisis, you would want to be able to cut local interest rates a bit more. But you can only cut them, of course, if they're positive before. So I think it is quite wise for the RBNZ to keep the powder dry and keep some ammunition for when they need it.
All right. Having said that, you're well aware, and I started this by saying, the dairy sector are almost pleading with the Reserve Bank governor to cut rates. To what extent would a cut of at the most 25 basis points, to what extent would that actually help the struggling dairy sector?
Well, I guess every little helps, because, as you say, the sector is indeed struggling, and they may see it as just the first step of quite a few to come. So there are some economists out there who believe that over the course of the year we are going to see at least 2 cuts of 25 basis points. That would certainly help struggling dairy farmers. On the other hand, as I said, keep in mind there are other sectors of the economy that would probably not benefit from this rate cut. I'm particularly thinking, of course, of housing. We really don't want to see an exaggeration to continue in the Auckland housing market.
Having said that, where do you think rates are going to go? Given that you are in the majority and you believe that the rate will hold firm today, do you nonetheless expect there will still be at least 1, maybe 2, or possibly even more cuts before the end of the year?
There's a good chance, but it depends on inflation developments. But then again, these inflation developments, to a degree, are outside the RBNZ's control. Because if you just look at one of the main drivers, of course, of low inflation at the moment, that's oil prices. Well, there's nothing we can do about it. It's just an international development that we import. So we'll have to see whether the RBNZ, in the end, comes to the conclusion that weighing all the costs and benefits of a cut in interest rates, that's really worth doing.
Looking at the global economic indicators, just finally, Oliver, how low can the oil price go? Do you think it has bottomed out, or is it yet to drop further?
Well, you would think so, because it is at extraordinary lows.
Extraordinarily low.
But then again, very difficult to predict the future on this one. I think we are probably likely to see continued low oil prices for years to come, because inventories are so high now.
Extraordinary, isn't it? Remember they were all telling us about peak oil, and now they can't give it away. Oliver, thank you very much for joining us. Oliver Hartwich, Executive Director of the New Zealand Initiative. So, by far, 81%? We actually quoted a percentage of economists polled who believe the Reserve Bank governor, a little later this morning, will hold the current interest rate of 2.5%.